Climbers, I came here to do two things: drink coffee and share killer advice for aspiring songwriting pros like you. And I'm all out of coffee. Johnny, do your thing.
Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. We are here to transform your way of thinking and help move you from the way things used to work in the old music business to the way they work in the new music business. It's all different, and you need to know how it works. That's why we called it The Climb, creating leverage in the music business, C.L.I.M.B. It's genius. That's a backstory from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. Got a couple number ones last year on Southern Gospel. And what I love about him, this man here, this dude right in front of me, man, he's going to teach you how to be a pro by revealing how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then get the most important piece of the equation when you're competitive. Start to create relationships and get you in front of the pros. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D, even though the world could use a few more of them.
I don't know about that. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, man. Good to see you, brother. Good to see
you too.
Just excited to dive into this and hopefully help some songwriters. And I'll tell you up front, though, I lied. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. I'm not all out of coffee. I just watched the cold intro.
Awesome. Well, so we're going to get some more killer advice. That's what this episode's about. Just some more like fundamental stuff that you need to know.
Right. So if you listen to episode 291, which was, I shared some advice to aspiring songwriting pros, and this is, I had too much to fit into one episode. So we're going to give you some more. We're going to give you some more today. Hopefully it's going to help you on your climb, on your music business journey, and help you get where you want to go. That's what we're
doing.
Love
it. Love it. Well, let's take care of a little business first. Hey, we need some competitive artists to send in their song and be a part of the video content challenge. Guys, we charge money for this on consultations, right? And now you can do it, you can get it done for free and be a part of the show. And you're going to need more than a music video. You're going to need more than a lyric video. Go ahead.
Free consultation and free promotion because we share it around and it's on social. We share it on social media. You're single,
right?
So
Thank you.
Instead of paying Johnny for a session, which is well worth it and a value, why don't you just go get it for free and get some free promo thrown in?
That's right. And so, and forget about the album cycle. Okay. There is no album cycle anymore because we don't have a tyranny of space like we did on playlists on radio. So if it's a song that's been out that you think should have gotten some more attention and you've already got a video for it, great. There's so much more we can do, which we just proved in the the episode with Matt Bailey, where I already had like half of that content not only thought up, but literally shot.
Yeah.
And in post, right? But we came up with so much more that was just brilliant to help promote that song. So guys, send your song. It needs to be an artist track, not a song demo. It needs to be an artist track that you've got on Spotify or that's going to be on Spotify. And again, don't worry if you've already done the music video and a lyric video, because we're just going to add more promo content to that. We're talking about, little 30-second pieces of promo that are going to push this. Send that stuff to info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. And put VCC or Video Content Challenge in the subject line. And we're going to get you on the show. And we're going to send you off with a lot of homework, but you're going to have a really clear idea on some cool stuff that you can use that is going to provide beneficial content that is going to move the needle for you, period, end of story. Okay.
That's right.
As always, we're super stoked to be a part of the American Songwriter Magazine's podcast network. If you found us on the podcast network because we're one of 15 shows, I believe, on there. Welcome to the Climb. If
Mhm.
you're a longtime climber, go check out some of those other shows. They're amazing. And you're really going to, I mean, there's a lot to learn on those other podcasts, to be sure. So do that. Join the Climb community. It's facebook.com/the Climb community. This is an ever growing music community of singers, songwriters, indie artists, indie musicians. Lots going on, lots of activity going on. Co-writes being hooked up, promotional tricks and little hacks being traded back and forth, information being traded back and forth. This is, I mean, this is a resource you want to be a part of. You know, you have to
Mhm.
ask to be let in. We let everybody in, and also, you know, we allow you to stroke yourself a little bit, right? We're like, hey, we got a place for you to put your gigs. We got a place for you to talk about your wins right now.
Mhm.
So, what are some new wins we got going on? Just to
That's
give a
right.
little taste
So
of it.
every Wednesday is Wednesday, right? We have post our new heights segment in the Climb community on Facebook, and so we encourage you to celebrate your wins with us, so we can celebrate with you. So it's a fun time. It's a party. So I'm just going to share a few of these. Will Gunnell, name familiar to the podcast, says 3 cool things. My title "Harleys Over Heartaches" was used in the 100th episode of the Song Title Challenge with guest writers Blue Foley and Stefan Mork with on board with Brent Baxter and Johnny Dwinell. Amazing. Loved all the angles. If you guys want to jump in and make it happen, let's go. Oh, look at that little invitation there. I sent in 2 songs for the Gary Chapman pitch and also performed them at church this past Sunday to very positive reviews. So it's been a blessed week. So thank you, Will. Thanks for sending that fun song. So that's
Yeah,
episode
thank you.
100 of the Song Title Challenge. Let's see here. We got a couple more. We got Johnny Matt Music said, I'm starting to do more co-writing. Had a great co-write last night, finished 2 verses and a chorus. So love that, Johnny. Starting to stretch his legs a little bit, get out there and step out and write with some folks, and that's cool for him. And let's see, James Kelso, we'll finish with this one. There are more wins than we have time to go into, thankfully. James Kelso said, I get to open for a well-known Christian artist named Jason Gray on September 29th. It's a small venue of 250, so it'll be a packed house. I'm really looking forward to it. So congratulations to James, to Johnny, to Will, everybody else that has wins, and keep on climbing. We love it.
Love that, love
Yes.
that. Well, you know, I'll put this in the, Climb community too. We've been so busy with this, Nashville Nights International Songwriting Festival in Denmark.
Mhm.
I'm leaving for that on Monday. This I will be I will be back before this episode drops. So,
Yeah.
um, but we are going to be the de facto correspondent for American Songwriter Magazine,
Mhm.
covering this whole thing as well. So we kind of have two. You know, we've been doing the digital marketing, but also we have some other duties over there, which is nice. And man, we're going to have a boatload of really cool interviews from every one of those writers and every one of those artists. Blue's already got it lined up, so I'm super stoked about that. So
Awesome.
yeah, and that's, you know what, that benefits all of us climbers. So I love that. Finally, hey, leave a rating and review and subscribe to the podcast or follow it depending on what platform you're on, and tell somebody about it. That's the most important thing. You guys spend all this time with us every week. A lot of you binge this show when you first started coming onto it. That's only because you're finding some kind of value to it, because your time is extremely valuable. And we understand that. We appreciate that. We're grateful for that. Tell a friend, tell somebody else, hey, there's a lot going on here. Even if you don't like podcasts, check this out, because you're going to have a couple epiphanies, a couple aha moments, and we're going to up your game.
That's right.
That's what we're here for, right?
That is what we're up. Climb up. Yes.
That's right. All right. So, what don't we know? I mean, we got a lot from that episode 291.
Yep, 291. I'm not going to go back and spoil that for you because I want you to listen to it. So I'm not even going to give you the bullet points because you need to listen to it and dig into it. So, but on this one, we got 5 more. So I want to see how much of this we can get through in our time. First thing is, and this is stuff I've learned through success and failure. Stuff I've learned from experience is what you get right after you need it. So some of it's from experience that way, like, oh, I wish I'd known this, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 15 years ago. So I'm gonna share you some of that stuff with you now, so you don't have to look back and go, I wish I'd known that. I'm getting to you as fast as I can. So, all right, first thing is you want to choose your song ideas carefully. Now, this is something we talk a lot about on the show. So if you're new to the climb, welcome. But this is important to us. So you don't want to just write the first idea that pops into your head or the first one that your co-writer throws out. We don't want to have analysis paralysis, right? There's that thing of it's got to be so perfect. It's got to be just the right thing. And you spend, 5 hours wearing out your co-writer just to find the idea. Then you're both hating life at the end of it. So it's not analysis paralysis, but you want to try to write the best idea that you can find, the best idea suited to help you achieve your goals. So if you want to dig into that, just listen to any of our really 100 plus episodes of Song Title Challenge because
Yep.
we've done 100 episodes of that. And it used to be just like a pull out in the middle of other episodes. So my goodness, we've done well over 100 titles on this thing. And they're all geared at showing you how to dig deeper into your title and have fun doing it, like with a co-writer. And this stuff works, y'all. Like I have a cut coming out in Canada that later this month, so I'll be able to tell you about it, when it's all official and everything's out. But I've heard the cut when it comes out. But it was one that was like 1,000 or 2,000 titles ago. I think it was like 2,000 titles ago. And I'm doing my personal song title challenge, trying to find
You
the
mean
best
2,000
angle
titles ago in your hook book,
in
right?
my hook book. Yeah. So this is like years old. Pulled it back out, tried to find the best angle for it that is appropriate for the artist, the market, brought it to the artist. He loved it. We wrote it. It got cut and it's going to come out. Probably might be out about the time this drops. I'm not sure yet, but stuff works. You want to find the best idea that you can. I can look at all of my outside cuts and go, boy, those are little different ideas. That's not the standard same old.
Right.
And if you want to get your songs, I mean, I sat in a room with a hit writer, and this was like on my first publishing deal. It was not long after Monday Morning Church was out, and so I got to get in the room with this, this big shot, and it was really cool. I was thankful to be there, and probably not quite ready to be there because, he looks. He's like, "What you got?" Because he didn't need me to write his ideas. He could do that really well himself, and his wall speaks to that. So, but he's like, "What you got?" I'm like, "Well, I got this idea." Okay. Well, what else you got? I got this idea. What else you got? And just nothing was blowing wind up his skirt that day that I had. I didn't have a great hook or idea or thing. He's like, "Man, we need one of those Monday Morning Church ideas." I'm like, "I got one. I wrote it. I'm not sure if I have another one." And that day was, I wouldn't say it was a fail. It wasn't a lose. It was a learn. It was a learning experience about, man, you gotta come in as the junior writer, as any writer in a room, come in with the best idea that you can. And just trying to find and just choosing your ideas carefully. It's fun. We're having a good time here. But also it's like, this is your business, or you hope it's going to be your business. So it's like Tom Brady enjoys throwing the football, but he's also very intentional about trying to throw the open guy.
Right.
Tom's not going out there going, the Cowboys just, kicked a field goal. We're down by 1 with, a minute 40 to go. I just love throwing the football. So I'm just going to throw the football around. No, he's like, I'm going to Gronk again. And again, we're recording this tonight after the NFL kickoff, and that's exactly what happened. And he's like, I'm going to throw the open guy and get us in field goal range. I noticed he threw a lot of balls just right out of bounds, right there toward the end. If it wasn't open, he wasn't taking a sack, and he was not going to throw it into traffic. It was like out of bounds, out of bounds, out of bounds, which was choosing his spots carefully. So nothing bad happened in that sense. So
that's right.
Anyway, we harp on this a lot, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. But man, your song ideas matter. The angles for your titles matter. I mean, your angle and your idea that you wrap around your title might even be more important than the title. And both matter. Both matter, but man, that
But
idea.
no, but you know what? I'm gonna back that up because that's kind of the purpose, I think, and I've never thought about it this way until you said what you said, but that's the purpose of the hot take on Song Title Challenge.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, this is the most boring title ever, right? Until the angle and the story that you write makes it the most profound title ever. I mean, The Dance, What the F,
Yeah,
does
like,
that mean?
okay.
Just as a song title, forget that, forget about the song. What does that mean? Like, what? You know, what? Yesterday.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
What? You know, you've lost. I mean, it those titles are very simple titles, but
mhm,
this is not like an incredible song title where you're winning before you're spinning, but
right,
then you hear that song and you're like, "Oh my god, that's because of the angle,
yeah.
because
It's
of the
like, "Oh,
thought
if you do it like
process."
that, that's amazing." Yeah.
Yes, and I'm talking about not even the lyrics at this point, I'm talking
Mhm,
about the angle that was
mhm,
so good that turned into the lyrics, you know? I
yeah,
think about The Request, you
mhm.
know, and it's like that one that we did where, okay, this might be the most lame
It's like, it's
piece
so
of meat
broad, it's just
song
it's
title.
so like, there's nothing there really until
Yeah,
you put something in it.
yeah, and then because I was telling, well, I was telling Michael Salakis, who is
Mhm,
a writer buddy of mine that I wanted to, you know, invite on to do a song title challenge with us. And I told him about The Request, and then I said I told him the spin that we did, which if you haven't heard that episode, we made it like, you know, some country artist that's in the grind, right? Like
mhm,
playing every night on tour, packed house on a Saturday, gets a $20 bill and a request in the tip jar, goes down to look at it, picks it up, and it's from his wife,
yeah,
right? That's like, you know, I want you to come home. Like I just so such a different angle, and now it's such an interesting story, and it's
mhm,
so heartfelt, and so many people can relate to it. That makes that title have much more weight, you know.
yeah,
So this exercise is so very important. And one other thing I'm going to add before we move on is just that you to kind of piggyback your story, your sort of story was you only get one chance to make a first impression,
yeah.
you know? I think the rest of that story, Brent, is that you never rode with that guy again. Am I right?
Unfortunately, yeah, yeah. I was a little embarrassed
So,
to go try to track that down again. There are other places I go. I didn't force the issue.
yeah. So, you know what? It's like, um, coming in, and I don't care what level you're at, you know, if you're writing with a group of writers and you're, you know, faded map dot,
Mhm.
it like, coming in more prepared like that, you're just going to set the tone from first of all, it's gonna be way more fun,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's gonna be more
You get
exciting,
to walk in
and
with confidence.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, now you're gonna be wow, now you're really gonna be pumped, and you're just going to dictate the outcome of that writing session, much more you have much more control over that than you would
Mhm.
if you just kinda come in with your head up your ass, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, I was looking back to, some old Man versus Row episodes, that I'm getting ready to put on Songwriting Pro website, and one of them was, like, got had a co-write with an artist coming up, and first co-write, kind of a blind date kinda thing, and boy, I was putting together my ideas based on what I thought would work for them, doing the research on the artist and all that stuff, and then there was a follow-up episode, where it's like, "Well, we didn't use any of those, but I still got them for next time." Because my buddy Neil came in with a great idea, and we ran with that one. But I got to
Yeah,
walk in confidently as I could, going, "I brought stuff. I did my due diligence. Did my professional business. I'm ready." And I might have thrown one or two out. I don't remember. But Neil had one that was great that the artist loved, and we ran with that. And it's like, and the good news is, I still got all those titles, those ideas for next time. So I'm prepared.
yeah,
It wasn't wasted at all. And it got me thinking in the mindset of that artist. Uh, Talk about titles versus ideas. Uh, some some titles are like just a a very plain glass.
mhm,
It could hold anything.
mhm.
Now, if you put an amazing drink in there, that glass is a lot more interesting. Like the drink is a very different experience, whether or not you have lukewarm tap water in there, or
Yeah.
oh, what's that stuff you're drinking lately? The smoky
Smoked old fashions.
smoked
Yep.
old fashioned. Yeah, that's a very different experience than
Yes,
lukewarm
it
tap
is.
water.
Yes, it is. It's much
It
more
could be the
fun.
same title, and am I putting a smoked old fashioned in there, or am I putting lukewarm tap water in there?
Mhm. Yep.
You
A
know,
craft cocktail or some city water.
city water. Yeah, not even fresh spring water, city water.
That's right. City water tastes like a swimming pool.
Exactly. So, Your ideas matter. You want to choose them carefully. You don't want to get analysis paralysis and refuse to write anything until you have the dance. But get after it and pay attention to your titles. All right, so that's
Yeah.
point one. Ready for point two?
Yep.
You want to be patient, but not lazy. All right, so you have a long journey ahead of you. You need to pace yourself so you don't like burn out or get too frustrated too early, but you do have to be persistent. So it's a balancing act. You know, you don't want to fool yourself into thinking you're being patient when you're just being lazy. You can't only wait for good things to come to you. You do have to get out there and work. So it's a balancing act, and you have to know yourself. And there's no, you know, it is a long journey. Excuse me. And so I had a coaching client the other day. We're talking about, you know, she's wanting to make the leap from her day job into full-time writing and everything, and to see what she can do because she's kind of burned out on her job. And it's like, I want to go do this. How can I do this? I'm like, well, let's talk about, you know, for one thing, like financial realities, like how much rope do you have? You know, how much of a
Yeah.
platform do you have? A lifeboat? You know, you got to build it for the long haul. And some people, you know, dive in and they, you know, it's like, and this person has going to be have a spouse with a good income. Let's put it that way, so they can exist on the other person's income. All right, that's great. It's also dangerous, you know, because it's hard to go out and
Good.
fight the bear for the food if you aren't that hungry.
Yeah.
And so it'd be really easy if you're in a comfortable circumstance with your day job or your spouse's job or whatever to be like, I'm just being patient. You're probably just not as hungry, not as
Yeah.
focused when you're not as hungry. But so it is a balancing act of going, you know what? They call it a 10-year town, Nashville, and it certainly is in a lot of respects. And so you can't be so impatient that you are wearing out the one publisher you know. I got another song, got another song, got another song. Yeah, you want to listen to this? Can we meet again next week? Can we, you know, and you're so impatient that it runs people off. You don't want to be
Yep.
that, but you don't want to be so patient. Like, oh yeah, I met with Scott over at so and so like 2 years ago. I should probably call him back up. Kind of been waiting to see if he calls me. You know, okay, there's a
Yeah.
happy middle there. Both those are
Yeah.
no bueno. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
That's right.
you know, and there are ways to do this to keep yourself on track, and some people are more like spreadsheet minded than others. But some things that I do, just, you know, you just want to do things to keep the ball moving, down the field or down the court. Whether that's, hey, I track my writes. I have, you know, like I have the wall calendar where I track the days I write and I can see it on my calendar. And I track the days that I have 10 touches for my, you know, write, record, access, and pitch. You know, I have different color markers going through this big wall calendar. So I know I can just look over there right now and go, okay, I put green on there for write, and I see a good amount of green. Okay. Oh, that's good. You know, if I look up there and go, oh boy, I don't see any green on there. Well, I guess I won't be making any green either. So
Oh,
there
ouch.
we go. So be mindful of that and go, how can I kind of hold myself accountable?
And there's a
To,
mindset aspect to that too, man.
Mhm.
Like, I remember, I don't know if it was a consultation or it might have been an email that we might have made a show out of it. I can't remember, but I think there was like this writer dude from like Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, you just, you know, I can't find any good writers around where I am.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you live in a city. Like, you live in Philadelphia, you
Yeah.
know? And I remember like, you know, because let me tell you where your co-writes are going to be. Let me tell you where your connections are going to be on the scene in your area, you
Yeah.
know, wherever that is, it's on the scene. And you know, two things are absolutely true. Uh, the cream always rises to the top,
Mhm.
you know. So if you got skills and you get in there,
Skills and
well,
mindset.
you're going to have the imposter syndrome. Let me save you the
Mhm.
suspense. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel like a little too salesy or whatever because they're not coming to you. You're going to them. But if you just go and hang out and watch these artists play and stuff, man, there's other people in that industry that are going to be there. I mean, I grew up in Delvin, Wisconsin. There was 5,000 people at the time. It's now blossomed to, I think, 8,000.
Nice.
Um, so, you know, there's Elkhorn, Wisconsin. There's Clinton, Wisconsin. There's Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. There's Williams Bay. There's like these little towns that are all around there. And it didn't take me long to learn who all the players were in those
Mm-hmm.
towns. You know what I mean? And I was probably in and out of several different bands in high school.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you know what? The cream rises to the top, and like the five best guys are like, you know what? We're in three different bands. You know, we should consolidate and be like awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the same thing that happened, like, for instance, with Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam used to be Mother Love Bone. Mother Love Bone used to be two really, really good bands that were super popular. Malfunction and The Green River, I think, was the name of the band or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that combined to make a super group called Mother Love Bone. And this is the band that like Nirvana went and saw. Kurt Cobain worshipped,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like in the clubs and everything like that. And then the singer died, and they go and they get Eddie Vedder. Now they're Pearl Jam, but they're on the scene. You got to be on the scene. You know, you
Yeah.
have to make time to be on the scene, and you're going to meet these people, and then you're going to find out where the hustles and the hangouts are, you
Yeah.
know, and you just gotta, you gotta do it though. You gotta go be a part of it, you know. I mean,
I was in Little Rock, which is not, Nashville, New York, or LA. It's not Philadelphia. It's not.
Little Rock, that's a subject to two different songs, and I don't think they were great. Like,
Oh no,
I don't think it was
there's some. Oh, it not maybe not talking about great
right.
about Little Rock, but yeah, the songs are great. Little Rock by
Yeah,
Colin
no,
Ray is.
songs are great, but if
Oh,
it's just like
Little
things
past
are
Little
going
Rock.
good up here in Little Rock, yeah, little past
Mm.
Little Rock. All right, yeah.
I'll even claim Reba's Little Rock, even though it didn't have anything to do with the city. Little Rock. I think I'm gonna have to slip you off. Take a
Yeah.
chance tonight and untie the knot. There's more to life than what I got. Little Rock. Anyway, um, so there wasn't a whole lot going on there, but I got into the one writer's night that I heard of. Got my buddy Tim in there, which is the one co-writer I had. He's from high school. I went out with his sister a couple times. He's 3 years younger than me, and we wrote. I got him in the one. Uh, it's Above Stars Guitars. One writer's night. Met a couple guys who were trying to start a publishing company out of Little Rock, and so they, good finds good. They liked the songs. They liked us. We started, hanging out, and they told me about this girl named Erin Enderlin. They
Mhm.
took me to Nashville for my first like publisher meeting in Nashville because they knew somebody. And I don't know what they're up to now, but I know what Erin's up to. I know what we got up to is writing a top 5 hit in Little
Mhm.
Rock. Well, she's actually outside of Little Rock in a smaller town called Conway.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's anyway, I kind of lost the thread a little bit on that. But yeah, wherever you
Yeah.
are, and that's like before, and that wasn't pre-internet, but it's like before like Reverb Nation and all these
Yeah.
great places you can go and find people and connect. It doesn't really matter so much where you are. So
And I guess my point just gotta have that attitude of you've gotta go get it, you know, because you're
yeah.
talking about like, you know, have balancing that job
Mm-hmm.
and what to do with all that. Well, none of that's gonna work if you're not actively out there trying to meet people and get in the groove. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And just go hang and be friends and meet like-minded people. I mean, it's that simple, you
Oh,
know?
for
It's
sure.
it's
Yeah, and being I call it being patiently persistent.
yeah.
I'm being patient because I know things take a long time in this business. But I'm gonna be
Yeah.
persistent. I'm just gonna keep on keeping on, and in a way, kind of divorce the grind from the outcome. It's like, okay, my job is the grind, is the input, is the go, and I gotta work toward that outcome. But I can't be so attached to it that if it doesn't happen next week, I'm out. You got to be
Yeah.
patient. You got to love
And
the process and the grind.
I got one more story about that real quick,
Mhm.
just so like that. So Delavan, Wisconsin is in the Milwaukee radio market,
Mhm.
right? We're 45 minutes south of Milwaukee. And so certainly there's a band scene that's a small band scene that's going on around those towns that are like my high school played. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's my
Yeah.
high school thing. And then the one club that was always on the radio in Milwaukee. It's gone now. I think it's a parking lot now, but it used to be called T.A. Burns, right?
Mhm.
This was the AAA club in Milwaukee. This was the club that the national acts would come through. It had 2 stages, upstairs and downstairs. And that was like our dream gig to get into that club because Milwaukee's like the big city,
Mhm.
4 hours away. We're in high school. And that was the one that was always on the radio.
Yeah.
You know, that's the
Yeah.
one you heard on the radio the most. So of course, that's the one we're like, oh, this is where we got to be. And I guess this part of like being number one, persistent, and number two, continuing to grind to sort of back up what you said. Like we were rehearsing like we were going to go out on tour tomorrow. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
because we loved playing music and being in a band and we rehearsed a lot, you know, and
Yeah.
we got good. And we had like all those best guys from all those different bands around our little area that created that little super group in our little county, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, in Wisconsin. And then we're trying to bust in to Milwaukee. And I remember like we kept trying and trying and trying. And finally we get this opportunity and the owner says, okay, man, come on up. I need you for this. And you know what? It wasn't a booking. It was a problem. Like somebody that was supposed to open for this band
Oh.
bailed
Mhm.
last minute. Can you come in and do this? And I said, yes, we could. And our bass player screwed the pooch, was down in Chicago, the south side of Chicago. His girlfriend didn't tell anybody. And
Oh.
literally we got screwed. And I remember being so pissed, you know,
Yeah.
like I wanted to choke him out because he was always the guy that was like, ride or die, you know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
like, were you talking about the band or your girl? Like,
Right.
what is
Yeah.
the deal? You know, like, dude, don't yokel me right away. We're only in high school. And but that ended up being like, you know, God has a plan. The universe is always as it should be. You know, he had a, you know, mea culpa, thousand apologies. I'm so sorry. We blew the opportunity. Well, then we got another one, and that was the one where we opened up for Hurricane Alice, and they just saw us do one show and brought us into the Minneapolis market, and that launched us on tour. I mean, that one show did all that stuff, but that doesn't happen if we're not grinding
Mhm.
every week, every day, and we're prepared to take advantage of that luck. And number two, if we didn't keep trying to get into the place we needed to get into,
Yeah.
and number three, we didn't give up after we screwed it over the first time.
Well, you're being patient, but you weren't being lazy. It's like
That's right.
we wanna get into
And
this club,
persistent.
and it didn't happen overnight, but you
Yeah,
were not being lazy sitting around waiting for them to call. You were preparing, you were grinding, polishing, getting
yeah,
your chops, and getting ready for that opportunity.
yes.
Well, the second time it came around.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, you know, it's so funny, like, that club, a as luck would have it, just ended up being, like, the biggest thorn in our side, uh, because we couldn't, like, it just, I know I've told that story before, I'm not gonna go into it now, but I mean, it was yeah, we just kept trying and
Mhm.
trying and trying and trying and trying and trying, and then finally, "Okay, here it is, we got our opportunity," then we blew it, we're like, "No," and then
Yeah.
but you know what? It's like we wouldn't have been doing that just straight up if we didn't just it wasn't that we loved the idea of being in a band. No, we had to be in a band. We had to
Yeah.
play. We did it because we loved it. You know what I mean? And that's the difference. And as long as you're doing that, then that's going to get you past the inevitable imposter syndrome and
Right.
fear of doing that. So there you go.
True story. All right. So choose your song ideas carefully, be patient but not lazy. And number three, watch your freaking money. Okay, so you want to keep a modest lifestyle. You know, I think again of this coaching client I had that was going to be like, all right, hopefully I want to quit my job. I want to go out and maybe do some other stuff, get in the music business. And, my spouse is going to, makes a good income. And so I'm like, okay, that's great, but it's also be careful. Right.
Mhm.
Just like, you may not be as hungry. You got to watch out about lifestyle creep. You want to keep your overhead low and your lifestyle modest, because that way, if you keep your overhead low, maybe you can take that low paying publishing deal, or that, you know, um, you want to save your money for when you're between publishing deals. So like the way I like to think of the music business is, you've heard that phrase is feast or famine.
Mhm.
Music business is really mostly fast or famine.
Yeah.
So that's how you survive. You treat it like it's fast or famine.
That's right.
It's you want to keep that overhead low, because that's the thing, is like you're blessed if you get the highs, if you get the feast. Uh, you're human if you get the lows and the famine. That's gonna happen. That's inevitable. That's where you start. That's probably where you're gonna end. And how
Yeah.
do you ride out the in between so you can get that beginning and end as far away from each other as possible? And your overhead, man, you can write yourself into the business and then you can house yourself right out of it. People get
Yeah.
a mistake, they get a hit house, and boy, then they can't keep it up. But they've become accustomed to this lifestyle that they got that one hit and they got a hit lifestyle, and the other hit didn't come, and then they're looking for another job because they want to keep they got a house with a pool and they really want to keep it, or they have that day job um before they get in the business. And then it's really hard to leave that day job because very few people just step out into a lucrative music industry. It's kind of
Yeah.
starting over at the bottom. And so that's one thing. When I was in Little Rock, speaking of Little Rock again, I was working at All Telecommunications. So it was like a cell phone company. And I was, khaki ant farm, right? Doing the cubicle jungle thing. And I wasn't busting my butt to try and get raises and all that stuff because I'm like, I don't want a gilded cage. For one thing, I don't care that much about this job really to bust my like I was busting it to do a good job when I was there, but I'm like, this is not a career path for me. Like I'm not trying to, and I was a little scared of it because the more money I made, the harder it was going to be to leave it.
Yeah.
Then I have nicer things or a nicer car, or better apartment or a house. And then it's just like, it gets harder to go, okay, I'm going to take the leap.
Right.
And so you just want to think about that if you're looking at making the switch. One thing is like, okay, how do I get good at there's a Tim Ferriss, so the guy that wrote the 4 Hour Work Week and 4 Hour Body
Mhm.
and Tim Ferriss podcast, all this stuff. Johnny, I know you know who he is, but
Oh, yeah.
he said every once in a while he likes to practice poverty.
Ah,
And so what he'll do is, like, for a week or whatever, he'll be like, I have like one outfit, or I can
mm.
only the kind of the rice and beans kind of thing. And then Tim makes good money. But he'll do certain things to practice poverty and be like, okay, I can do this for a while, just to know he can do it, and to not get so, I guess, kind of spoiled with the
Yeah.
material things that he has available to him as a successful business person.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned Ferris because one of the things I was thinking, like, just you have to have a modicum of business sense on this,
For sure.
and the business sense is anathema to what they try to sell in the magazines and how it looks and how you probably think it is, right?
Uh-huh.
Like the reality of what you think it is. But it was Tim Ferriss that was like, that I picked this up on that we haven't gotten this far at Daredevil yet, but I'm trying as hard as we can. But, uh, on a business level, he wants 7 or 8 months of overhead in the bank,
Yeah.
that came from him. Like, and
Yeah.
so that's just, knowing it's not that if the rainy day is going to come, it's going to come,
Right.
and are you prepared for it? And then the second thing is, these decisions can make or break you in the entertainment industry. I just think of a specific situation that my late buddy Mark O'Toole told me about when he managed a band called Dream Theater, like this progressive metal band. It was
Oh
like really
yeah.
good. And when they came out, so first of all, they all got day jobs, but they also have like a major label record deal.
Mm-hmm.
The record drops, and now they have a choice. They've got X amount of tour support from the record label because the record label thinks that we can make this happen. Um, so they had a choice. They could go with the dream and get the tour bus,
Mm-hmm.
and they were going to be they were going to be able to afford to be out on the road for 6 weeks, or you downgrade and go to the Winnebago,
Mm-hmm.
not as glamorous, but way less expensive,
Right.
and you can be out on the road for 12 weeks. And O'Toole, being the consummate businessman that he was, talked to guys in like, look, just do this right. Give the single some time and please do the Winnebago, please. And they said, okay, we'll do the Winnebago.
Yeah.
Single breaks in 8 weeks.
There you go. 8 weeks.
There it is, right? If they had blown their
Was that
tour
Pull Me
support,
Under?
that was Pull Me Under.
I
That was the
remember
single.
that.
That's right.
Yes.
Good dude. I'm so proud of you right now.
Oh yeah, I listened to a little bit of Dream Theater back in the day.
Oh my god, dude! I mean, I love that band, but there it was. Like if they had blown the tour support, they're off the road. Now they have 2 weeks of dark time. all the energy comes out, all,
Mhm.
and the label, and oh, I don't know, and who knows, maybe they pulled that single and put it somewhere else because it didn't work, and we don't have a band supporting the tour. So why am I going to?
Yeah.
I've got other bands I can put in that slot. Do you see how all that works, you guys? So it's you've always got to remember it's your money, and it's always your money. I don't care if somebody, it's always your money, and you got to treat it like it's your
Mhm.
money. And if you do that, you're going to make better decisions.
Yeah, it gives you more leash, it gives you more runway, it gives you a bigger lifeboat. It's like, I've told my wife, we've made certain decisions as a family, and this is like before, well, like for myself, when I was single and writing, it's like, I don't what is my nice truck? It's writing songs every day. What's my nice
Hmm.
house? It's writing songs every day. What's
Hmm.
my vacation? It's when I go to the Music Row and freaking write songs every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, what's important? If you love it and you love the grind, what else do I need, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so,
Preach.
man, and so, my Emily and I had this conversation, when we got married and stuff, and she worked for a while, but when we had kids, it's like, okay, well, this is important for us to stay home and full-time mom it. And it's like, all right, well, we're paying a financial price for that. It's like, okay, well, just remember, like you staying home, that's your nice vacation. You staying home with the kids that you want to. Well, that's some of these other nicer things that we could have. We're getting this instead. We're choosing this over those other things because of something we want, something that's important to us. Um,
Yeah.
and so,
And hold on.
yeah.
By the way, that's intentional, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like if my point being like intentional in thought
Mhm.
between you and between M, right? If you guys don't have that talk and make that deal, not only with each other, but with yourselves,
Mhm.
then it's easy to all of a sudden get caught up in the current of, well, we don't have a big vacation or we don't have a nicer car or we, and
Oh my gosh, all my friends on Instagram are at Disney.
yeah, 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 you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like when you are saying, "Okay, this is what we're choosing over this," then there is a discernible, "This is the bed we made, now we're gonna lay in it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it has to change, then that requires another conversation, another set of decisions, but you're not foggy, you're very clear,
Yeah.
and you're not lamenting something that you shouldn't be lamenting, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're not getting confused in there, so that's a big deal.
It
A lot of
is. I
people do
mean,
that.
it's music business. If you don't have money, you can't play. Meaning, if you don't have money, you got to go to work somewhere, or you can't
Yeah.
leave that work somewhere because of your lifestyle. It's like, okay, what kind of lifestyle do you want? Now, hopefully, you get the option of doing all that. Hopefully, you live skinny. Like Dave Ramsey says, right now I'm going to live like no one else, so later I can live like no one else. And that's what your mindset you have to have with the music business. Now, I want you to have the option of doing the ridiculous house and all that stuff later on if that's what you choose to do, you know, but it's not going to become an option from the music business if you don't clamp down, control your spending, get on a budget. And because what's like, oh my gosh, I wrote this song, but I can't demo it. Why can't you demo it? I don't have the money. Why don't you have the money? Well, maybe it's because I don't know, whatever. I got the new video game that just came out, or I have all these different subscriptions to all these streaming channels and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, wow, that's like a demo. Like every month I'm paying on these other things. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's your
Yeah.
choice. That's
Yeah.
your choice, but it's
That's
up
your
to
bed
you.
you made. Now you gotta lie in it.
Yeah. It's like, what are your
Don't
priorities?
complain about it. Don't
Yeah.
complain about it. Yeah.
And that's something to think about going, okay, if a demo costs, and there are different ranges on this, but that might be an interesting thought experiment to go, okay, if a demo costs, 400 bucks, whatever. And look, and if you're having trouble paying for demos, just go look through and see where can you find 400 bucks and other things? Would you rather have that demo than, I don't know, Disney Plus? Would you rather have that demo
Yeah.
than whatever? And to start looking at it in terms of, you're spending like, oh, wow, I'm spending 4 demos on this each month. Maybe I can just cut it down to
Yeah.
spending 3 demos
Yeah.
on this month. That way I can turn one of those demos into an actual demo.
I don't need a $600 a month car payment and $300 in car insurance.
Yeah,
I can do, 2
I
demos,
have a 2 demo
or a
car
demo.
payment. Hmm.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It's okay.
Change your monetary exchanges in terms of demos. How much is the electricity bill? Oh, it's a fifth of a demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So you want to watch your money. Number 4 here is you want to write with a future focus. So country music of today is not the country music of the 2000s or the 1990s. What is considered commercial evolves. If you don't pay attention, you'll look up from your guitar one day and realize that everything you're writing sounds dated. I've had publishers say before, you can write yourself into this business and you can write yourself right back out of it. Meaning
Mhm.
you write great stuff, helps you get into the business, but then you stagnate and you don't change and you don't adapt. And guess what? The songs you're writing are writing you right back out of the business.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why, Tim Nichols has come up on the podcast several times, and Craig Wiseman has come up before. Like people that stay relevant for a long period of time, it's not by accident. They pay attention to what's going
Uh,
on.
and that's a different skill set than songwriting. That's a mental awareness
It
skill
is.
set,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
that's one of the reasons I enjoyed doing. Like a couple weeks ago, we did the broke down the top 5 of the country chart, and I just dove
Yeah.
into those more than I normally would. I've heard all those songs a bunch, but just like kind of breaking them down and going, "Oh, wow. These are all like less than 3 minutes except for one of them," or whatever. It's the
Mm.
reason we do the artist insight reports at Songwriting Pro. I'm having people like add the duration onto some of those, like so we can go,
Yeah.
"Oh my goodness, this new Billy Currington record or this new whoever record. Wow, the longest song on there is only 3:30. The shortest one is 2:30. Wow, the songs are evolving, they're changing, so got to keep up with that stuff. Of course, we told the story 100 times on here about, I would have been one of the biggest writers in the 90s. If
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
somebody tell me that, but it was like 2014. Not good. Um,
Wah, wah,
not,
wah.
I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is, you would have been one of the biggest writers in town in the 90s. Bad news is I don't have a time machine.
Yeah.
Mercy.
There you go.
Yeah. So you want to write with a future focus. Like I said, country music, pop music, CCM, whatever, it evolves over time. It changes. If you want to, there's nothing wrong with those old styles. But if
Mhm.
you want to make a living doing this, if you're an aspiring songwriting professional, like I make a living or at least make some money, I get some cuts, I get activity, then you need to think about what has the best chance of doing that. I mean, I still write some old school stuff. My buddy Neil and I wrote this thing that, we have George Strait in mind, and we're like, it just felt so good. Felt like a warm bath to write this thing. It's so George Strait. We're like, oh my goodness. And we're gonna be able to get it a valid listen. But if everything I write sounds like that, there's like kind of one or two places to go in town. And then maybe you can hit up Texas. But
Yeah.
there's so much more to country music. I'm sure not gonna get a Dan and Shay cut or a whoever, Cole Swindell cut or whatever, just sound like George Strait stuff, even though I love it, or sound like that 90s stuff. It evolves over time and you need to pay attention to it. Some of that comes from writing with younger people, because that's fun just because they naturally speak a little different generational language than I do and musically.
Mhm.
And so if you can be open minded, then you can learn a lot from people that don't know how to write songs as well as you do. Because
That's right.
you've gotten the chops, how to. It's kind of like the architecture and carpentry, right? Architecture's having the vision. I want to design this sort of space, this sort of house, this sort of thing. I think this people would love this. Okay, carpentry is knowing how to make the walls straight and how to
Mm.
build it where it's structurally sound and will actually do what the architect envisions. So that's what I look at with like the vision of the song versus the craft. And so sometimes the younger generation, they may not have all the carpentry down. They may not know
Yeah.
exactly how to pull off, but they can have a different vision of what, I'm going to build this kind of house because this house is kind of hot right now.
Yep.
In this current market, this is the kind of house. Well, I don't really envision that kind of house because I grew up in 1968 ranch, and to me, that's what a house is, and that I
Yep.
naturally go there. But you know what? They may be doing tiny houses. And you're like, what? Yeah, tiny houses. You don't know if tiny houses are a thing? Let me, and then you're like, okay, well, I can build that for sure. I just didn't. know I wanted to.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and they might have different tastes in furniture
they
too,
will
right?
totally have
Like,
different taste
how
in
they're gonna
furniture.
how they're gonna tell that story, so
Exactly, and just go, "Well, this is what," because it's funny, it's like, funny thing about it's kinda like that Matthew McConaughey thing. Funny thing about getting older, 18-year-old artists are always 18 or
always
whatever,
18.
and as you get older,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I still have to relate to them and say something they wanna say. Um, so that so it's growing, it's adapting, it keeps it from being stale, it's fun, but you just wanna
Mhm.
be mindful of it. Just like you're watching your money, you wanna watch the commercial climate. I mean, I'm way I was riding with, one of my interns. So I have an intern that's, working on some demos for me, Belmont student. And so he's working some stuff out for me, and he played me a rough of this, song that I sent him as a work tape, and he's playing me some guitars, he's programmed some drums and stuff, and we're just talking about kind of, production, and we're talking, kind of arrangement and stuff. He's like, "Well, it's only like 240, so maybe I can add some stuff here or there to get it up over 3." I'm like, "Don't talk like that." No, I was nice, but I was like, "Oh, no, that's not a problem. Let me show." He goes, "I think it needs to be over 3." I'm like, "Let me pull up the chart right now." I'm like,
Yeah.
245, 250, 230, 310, 315. I'm like, "No, man.
Right where it needs
Like,
to
we
be.
do not
Yeah,
need filler. We don't need to drag it out just to hit some sort of magic 3-minute thing." Now, if it's on the other side of it, where it's like 340, I'm very aware of the time, but it's like, there's really no such thing as too short if the song's
yeah.
complete and done. It's like,
I mean, like those CCR songs, 215,
yeah,
230.
Beatles
That's
songs.
a freaking accomplishment, man. That is like I've never written a 2 minute and 15-second song. Like, that is
Yeah.
it's like a golden ring I've never been able to grasp, but gosh darn it if you can do that. Of course, in my day, we had the 16-bar guitar solo, so that's
Yeah,
probably
it's different
impossible. But,
different beast, right? Different beast. So but it's changed over time. Yeah, like
Yeah,
songs got really short with or they were with like Beatles and you got Fogerty, and then they get longer and now they're compressing it shorter again. In
yep,
general, but to be aware of that. So I'm like,
yep,
oh yeah, I don't need to be writing even 3.5-minute songs. Now I'm going to complete the song. It's going to be as long as it needs to be, right?
yeah. You gotta say what you need to
I'm gonna
say.
say what I need to say because I've run songs before trying to chop them for time. Then we demoed them, and I've never pitched it. I think of one song in particular. I've never pitched it because we broke it for the clock.
Mm,
It's like I might not have gotten cut anyway, but at least I wouldn't have wasted my publisher's money, and which is my money coming off recoup just for the
mhm,
clock. It's like we shouldn't have demoed it, or we should have just let it be what it is. It would be a better
yeah,
song. So anyway, but that's just future focus. What is the kind of what's coming up? What's the market doing? Don't get stuck in the past. Do you want to build it just like you want to watch it your money so you can build it for the long haul? Be patient so you build it for the long haul. You want to write with a future focus so hopefully you can be around for the long haul and not be stagnant.
there you go.
All right, number 5 here. Music is not God. So music is a wonderful companion. It's a thrilling career, and it's a gift from God. But like music is not God. If you let it be an idol, if you turn it into a God, it's going to become a demon. It can break up your marriage. It can destroy you financially. It can turn you into a self-centered jerk. Hey, I can do that on my own. I don't need the help from music. Music's an
Yeah,
incredible thing, but it's not meant to be your everything. And this is something I've gotten into with coaching clients that and this is definitely something I've learned the hard way about balance. So much of what we talked about is balance. Find the best song ideas you can, but eventually you need to write a song. Be patient, but not lazy. Watch your money, build it for the long haul, right? With the future folk, that's music is not meant to be the one, especially if you have a family. Like there have been times where, I was looking back over some of those Man versus Rose and going, wow, I got up, I was up till 11:30 the night before prepping for this co-write. I got up at 3:50 to go to Starbucks and put in my 5 hours. Then I went to Music Row, and then I was writing with the artist. Then I was meeting Ruthie Collins for guitar vocal. I was coming back at like 7 something at night. And then at the video ended with little, I don't know, 1-year-old Ozzy, with me hugging
yep,
him. And, it was a long day. It was an unusual day, but it's like, dadgum. Like, that's not coming back. I seen that video, broke my heart. There are gonna
yeah,
be some days like that where you gotta go on the road. You gotta pull a long one. And even the video I mentioned that, I was like, I don't do that all the time, but uh, man, there was a lot I missed. There have been times in my career where, just out of uh, fear of desperation, trying to make something happen, I just put more and more and more hours in, and it was just causing more and more and more damage to my marriage. Emily was
Mhm.
feeling more and more less, and so she was
Mm.
jealous of the music and jealous of the music business and all that stuff because it's what took me away. It was what consumed me, and so I just was not a great husband. Uh, for life. You can cheat in more ways than just physically, kind of in a way. And she felt that music was kind of my mistress. And so
Huh.
there's like a rivalry there. And so, God's had to knock me out of that and knock me out of the business for a while. I mean, there were a few years I was mostly out to recenter me and thankfully, and I'm thankful for that. It sucked, but I'm thankful for it because, to come back in older, wiser, going, okay, you know what? If it's going to work, these are the parameters it's going to work in. I'm
Mhm.
I'm building it to bring my family with me.
Yeah.
And so I make choices sometimes that career-wise tick me off that I can't go do something or that,
Woo!
I have these competing interests. It's not just like, oh, if I was single, I'd be doing that. And I'm not talking about a girl. I'm talking about like just if I was single, I'd go on the road with this person. Or I'd go to this thing, or I'd be out right, I'd live in Nashville, whatever. But you know what? I gotta have my priorities. And if it's gonna work, it's gonna work that way. And you know what? It's working. I get to do
Yes, it
music.
is.
And I'm here recording a podcast, and it's 11:20 on a Friday at the moment. And I got shorts on and no shoes, and I'm hanging with my buddy Johnny, and we get to geek out about songwriting and stuff. And,
Yeah.
I
And thank God you got shorts on.
yeah, oh, yeah, for sure, and a shirt.
I thought you might say, "I got some shoes on and no shorts." Like, I was like, "Well, that's interesting."
That's a choice. Somewhat of a cartoon choice, possibly.
Fashion, it's a fashion choice. You're Porky Pigging it over there.
Right, and I got way too many windows in this office to be, walking around too much. Anyway, so but that's the thing, you have to, closing the guitar case or closing the laptop in my case can be an act of worship. Like I've had to build going, I'm gonna work my butt off when I'm working. And I work hard and I put in the hours. Um, but you know what? Time comes at the end of the day where I just got to close the laptop and go trust God with the rest. I've done what I can do because there's always more you can do. There's
Yeah.
always more to be done. There's always more I can do to build Songwriting Pro or to write another song, get another co-writer in the books, go out and see somebody's show, meet somebody. Oh, this thing may happen, so I got to go just in case. My FOMO, all that stuff. There's always more,
Mm.
and you gotta have a conversation with yourself about okay, what are my, you know, because there, man, it's talking about mission creep. It's like, boy, I start off with a hit and then I got my pub deal, and that's fun. And it's so much fun to be on the road and to write songs. And you feel like the man because you got a song on the radio and people enjoy and respect your talents and your abilities. You're like, yeah, this is great. I'm getting my ego stroked. I'm going to write music every day. This is like the life. And, then maybe you haven't had another hit for a while. And you start getting, now you're showing up a little more. It's fun, but it's also a little desperate.
Uh-huh.
Put in a little more time. I'll be checking my email while I should be just like hanging out on the couch watching my wife. Why? Just in case somebody calls and they need something or somebody email or like, no, there's really nothing that can't wait till the end of Lost, you know?
Yep. That's right. That's
And
right.
it's okay. And there's so many times like, why did I have my laptop open and doing stuff like, should just trusted, just hung out with my wife. And
Yeah.
I would have, could have written less songs about, I guess, Let's Fight, but it might have cost me a couple song ideas. But in the long term, it would have been so much better.
I
Um,
love that song, though.
I
That
love that
song
song
needed to be
too.
written.
Never could have written that song before I got married. But anyway, so think about what is important, what your values are, and know that this wonderful, beautiful music thing will expand and grow on you and crowd out everything else because it's what you love. It's your passion. I remember having a discussion with an artist that, I'm friends with and we're writing and there was that conflict with her husband, about the music thing and the costs involved, like with time and just the energy and the emotional, all this stuff. And she was like, hey, you knew I loved music when I met you. and I loved music before I met you. And I don't know all the details, but they're not married anymore.
Ooh,
And I don't know, like I said, I don't know the details, but there was a point of contention. I was like, "Oh, I
yikes.
can so relate to that because I love music before I knew my wife. I've loved it longer
Mhm,
than I've loved
mhm.
Emily, but only because I met music first, And
Yeah.
so you do have these competing things, and you have to like have be real about, okay, what are my priorities? What am I willing to do? What are the trade-offs here? And just be careful of that kind of slippery slide. Because I've seen it with other friends before that, they go to Music Row and they're the man. They come home and they're not the man. They're the one getting
Mhm,
nagged, or they're the one, the wife is unhappy. And then because they've been gone so much. And so where do you want to go? A man wants to go where he's respected.
mhm.
Well, it's easier for that guy to go back
Back
to
to
the
the music.
row because
It
there
becomes
people,
a protection racket.
well, it's like a man, what's that old Merle Haggard song? I think Caroline, where he's talking about, in this case, he's talking about cheating, but he's like, sometimes a man will do it, is lonely, blah, blah, blah. But basically, a man will do it every time if he's not treated right at home. It's
Mm,
that respect thing. And so
mhm,
this guy, he spent more and more time away from the house because the house wasn't as pleasant, and he wasn't the man there, and he was, the GOAT, but not like in the greatest of all time, kind of way. Um, he was a scapegoat, or whatever. They weren't getting along. And partly because he was gone so much. So what does he want to do? He wants to go back where his ego gets stroked and he feels like he's the man because he's the man. He's really good at his job. And then they're not married anymore either. It's like,
Yep.
so anyway, just be aware of that stuff. Take care. If you got a family, take care of your family. What's important. So anyway, ending on a very philosophical note, but those are my notes.
Yeah.
So I hope this is
Love
helpful
it,
for
love it,
y'all.
love it. All right, guys. Well, it brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode. Make sure you share this with a friend. Join the Climb community. Follow or subscribe to the podcast. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.